Today, we're closer to real reform than we've been in decades. Joining me now is Congressman Bobby Scott, Democrat from Virginia, who's pushing a major criminal justice reform bill through Congress, and Harvard Law professor Charles Ogletree. Thank you both for being here.
It's good to be here, Reverend Al.
Our pleasure.
Congressman, what's your reaction to the president's call for action today?
Well, I think he pointed out the comprehensive nature of the problem. You have to start with education and make sure that you deal with the achievement gap. We're dealing with the Elementary and Secondary Education Act now, and the Senate will have an amendment to do something about the achievement gap. We also have a discipline gap that's been discovered and documented. Once you have to do prevention and early intervention to make sure that children get on the right track and keep on the right track. Policing, sentencing reform, you got to get the mandatory minimums applied to nonviolent, low-level offenses. Makes no sense. When they get to prison, you have to rehabilitate them, not just warehouse. And even on parole, you have to make sure that you have appropriate supervision and not just send people back and forth to prison. You need a total criminal justice reform bill, and that's exactly what the Safe Justice Act is. It goes through the entire system, making sure that we have criminal justice reform, making sure we have an evidence-based approach. One of the things we do in this bill is get away from slogans and sound bites, and once you do that, all you have are a bunch of initiatives that will reduce crime and save money. We've had many states that have reduced their crime rate and and saved money in the process, and that's what we need to be doing.
And save money. I remember you had broke that down for us. I was in Washington last week at National Action Network's policy conference. I want to come back to the saving money and how conservatives are involved in this in the Congress and the Senate. But let me ask you, Dr. Ogletree, the president said that, quote, justice is not only the absence of oppression, but the presence of opportunity. What's your take on that part of the speech?
He's just right. And let me just say this. I very much support Congressman Bobby Scott from Virginia, all the work that he's done. And he has been there. I've seen the proposals he's talked about. And you know me and you, Reverend Sharpton, and the late late mayor, talked about the second chance.
Yeah, and we actually went around touring on that together.
Absolutely.
And Ed Koch and I never got along until then.
Right. I think he arrested you a few times, right? But you know what? You turned out to be a voice for right and justice, and I think that makes a big difference.
Yeah,
and I've been doing that all my time at Harvard
protests, too. But we challenge state laws on exactly this under your direction, Professor. That's correct.
That's exactly right. Now, I have to say this, too. One of the things that we've been doing at the Charles Hamilton Houston Institute for Race and Justice at Harvard, we've been talking about how important it is to deal with mass incarceration, to deal with the fact that too many people are in jail. And we like this idea that the president is thinking about people need to be treated and helped and given a second chance, like we talked about decades ago. And I think that's what is going to be very important. I'm very happy that you have been on that bandwagon. I'm glad the Congress is on the bandwagon, and I'm glad that you have a bipartisan attitude about reducing the penalties for drugs. As you heard Ronald Reagan's wife said, just leave drugs alone. That's not the issue. That's not the solution. And I think we're going in the right direction.
Congressman, let me get right back into that about the Republicans and some on the right, because you were at a hearing of criminal justice reform, and a lot of Republicans talked about the need for change. Let me play this to you.
Worry that the criminal justice system today is not the system that I think we should aspire to.
Billions of dollars incarcerating individuals while doing little or nothing to address the underlying cause or to better prepare them for their eventual release into civil society.
An innocent mistake is not supposed to be criminal, but a zealous prosecutor can make even the most innocent mistake look criminal.
Mass incarceration tears families apart and deprives children of their fathers and mothers.
Congressman, are you surprised that so many on the right are now joining this cause?
Well, not really. Like I said, if you can get away from the slogans and sound bites, you're faced with initiatives that reduce crime and save money. It's easy to get bipartisan coalition around things that reduce crime and save money, and that's what we've been trying to do. We have significant support from the right and the left on this bill. Many organizations that have traditionally been considered very conservative and some very liberal, all supporting the bill because it reduces crime and saves money. We have 15 Republican co-sponsors on the bill, 15 Democratic co-sponsors on the bill, and we're adding them even Steven on the way up. We're getting support every day. Many members are looking at the bill, so I expect more support coming up. But the idea from some are more interested in saving money. Others are more interested in a fairer criminal justice system. But we can all agree that mandatory minimums for low-level nonviolent offenses make no sense because you lock up people, spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on these sentences, and then the people are worse off in the end than they were in the beginning. We can do better, and the Safe Justice Act does exactly what needs to be done.
Professor Ogletree, you know, for decades we've heard presidents talk about the need to get tough on crime, going all the way back really to President Nixon. Listen to this.
If there is one area where the word war is appropriate, it is in the fight against crime.
We've convicted over 7,400 drug offenders and put them, as well as leaders of organized crime, behind bars in record numbers. But we must do more.
I mean to get tough on the drug criminals.
When this bill is law, 3 strikes and you're out will be the law of the land.
Now, the tone started to change a little under President George W. Bush, but what we're seeing from President Obama is transformative, Professor Ogletree.
That's exactly right. And you have this Republican group called Right on Crime. They're saying the same thing. It's costing too much. The jails are too full. We're spending billions of dollars on incarceration as opposed to training those men and women to go out into the community and be very helpful. I think that's going to make a big difference. I really appreciate what Congressman Scott's doing, but I really appreciate what the community is doing. Every state around here is saying we need to get rid of our whole view about drugs, and we need to punish people. I don't use drugs, but I don't want to punish people simply because they have addiction, but they need to be treated, and they need to be given the opportunities. And I think that's what is going to be very important going into the 21st century.
Congressman, this Thursday, the president's going to make history. He will be the first sitting president to speak from a prison, from a federal prison. First time a sitting president goes to a federal prison and addresses people. Is the president trying to shift the public attitudes and opinions about these issues?
Well, I was surprised to hear that he was the first to visit a prison. There's so much going on in prison that you can actually do some good. You have people where you have them under lock and key for years. They should get out a lot better than they went in. Many of the problems, they have drug addictions and low-level education, no job training. And after several years, they get out as untrained and uneducated as they went in. We can change that and significantly reduce the cost of future incarceration. Yeah. And when everybody gets together is because you not only reduce crime, you also save money.
Well, you're right. I remember growing up, they used to call them correction facilities. Now they call them detention facilities. Right. We need to get back to correction. Some may not be able to be corrected, but many can be, and we should not give up on that. Congressman Scott, Professor Ogletree, thank you both for your time tonight.
My pleasure.